I'm Shauna, and I have with me the beautiful Mika. Hi, Mika. Would you like to say
Hi.
anything to the audience, real quick?
Hi. Hi, everybody. I'm Mika. Just wanted to say hello to you all. Hope you're having a wonderful and blessed Saturday. And I'm just so great to be here with all of you and with my sister.
All
Stop.
right. Yeah. So just real quick, Mika is one of my three bestest friends from high school. We've been knowing each other since 85, 6-ish. And
Yeah.
we've been homies ever since. And we travel together and we get together when we can. So it's just nice to have a true friend in your corner. And she's
Yeah.
very supportive. As you can see, her next to my dad, she's my first official special guest. So enough about all that. Let's get busy. We have 4 chapters to read today.
Mhm.
We are still working through the book of Deuteronomy. So yesterday we had to read 13 through 16 and 10 through 12, excuse me. Today is 13 through 16. So my very quick review about chapter 10, it was all about the Moses still is talking to the children of Israel before they are going to enter into the promised land and before he passes away. So he's given all his insight and knowledge that he has from being with their ancestors in the wilderness for 40 years. But more importantly, God commanded him to teach them his laws. So that's what's going on here. The book of Deuteronomy is full of Moses' speeches to the younger generation, the children of Israel, before he passes away and before they enter into the Canaan. So, chapter 10, what he told them the story about how he had the new tones of the new tone tablets of stone. Gosh, I'm tongue twisted. And the tablets of stone is basically the 10 commandments, because the first set, when he went up and was on the mountain, that the Israelites had built false gods and was worshiping, and he got so angry he came down off the mountain and threw the tablets at them and broke the tablets. So he's just telling them that whole story. I won't go back into it. Chapter 11 was about love and serve the Lord, and he's just being very explicit, telling them what God expects for them and warning them. This is a very, very clear warning to this new generation. If you don't serve God appropriately, you are going to die. That's literally what this is. It's a warning, and God is blessing them, giving them land they don't deserve. He's moving out 7 different nations just for the children of Israel to come and take over. So it's a big blessing that God's given them, but it does come with warnings and requirements, and that service to God, commitment to God. And that leads us to chapter 12. And chapter 12 was about the Lord's chosen place of worship, because God is commanding them, you don't worship me any old kind of place. You go into the land that I'm going to give you, and I will tell you where to set up to worship me. And also, it's a strong warning against idolatry. So, these people that God is moving out of the land, they worship idols. So, they sacrifice their children, they bow down to statues and figurines and worship animals. They do all kind of wicked stuff. And so, God is warning them, don't you mix with these people, because you're going to get corrupted by their ways. Okay. So, with all that, that's our review. In our chronological Bible, we're going to start with Deuteronomy 13. So let's just get going, because again, it's a lot of reading. But my BFF Mika is going to help me read today. Yay! Thank you, Mika. I'm going to thank
You're
her in
welcome.
advance. All right, verse 13, or chapter 13. If a prophet or a dreamer of dreams arises among you and gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or wonder that he tells you comes to pass, and if he says, let us go after other gods which you have not known, and let us serve them, you shall not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams. For the Lord your God is testing you to know whether you love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. You shall walk after the Lord your God and fear him and keep his commandments and obey his voice, and you shall serve him and hold fast to him. But that prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he has taught rebellion against the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and redeemed you out of the house of slavery, to make you leave the way in which the Lord your God commanded you to walk. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. That's very clear. He says, kill them. If anybody tries to get you to worship a false God, a God other than our God, they get put to death. Verse 6. If your brother, the son of your mother, or your son or your daughter, or the wife you embrace, or your friend who is as your own soul entices you secretly, saying, let us go and serve other gods, which neither you nor your fathers have known, some of the gods of the peoples who are around you, whether near you or far off from you, from the one end of the earth to the other, you shall not yield to him or listen to him, nor shall you I pity him, nor shall you spare him, nor shall you conceal him, but you shall kill him. That's very explicit. Your hand shall be first against him to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people. You shall stone him to death with stones, because he sought to draw you away from the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. And all Israel shall hear and fear, and never again do any such wickedness as this among you. Verse 12. If you hear in one of your cities, which the Lord your God is giving you to dwell there, that certain worthless fellows have gone out among you and have drawn away the inhabitants of their city, saying, let us go and serve other gods with which you have not known, then you shall inquire and make search and act diligently. And behold, if it be true and certain that such an abominable abomination has been done among you, you shall surely put the inhabitants of that city to the sword, devoting it to destruction, all who are in it, and its cattle with the edge of the sword. 16. You shall gather all its spoil into the midst of its open square, and burn the city and all its spoil with fire, as a whole burnt offering to the Lord your God. It shall be a heap forever. It shall not be built again. None of the devoted things shall stick to your hand, that the Lord may turn from the fierceness of his anger and show you mercy, and have compassion on you, and multiply you as he swore to your fathers. If you obey the voice of the Lord your God, keeping all his commandments that I am commanding you today, and doing what is right in the sight of the Lord. Woo! And there, that just really sums it up. If you obey, you will be blessed. Period. That's literally, that's the summary. Obey and you'll be good. Disobey and go after false gods, you're going to be put to death. Okay. All right. Moving on, Deuteronomy 14. We'll just keep plugging on through because we got a lot of reading today. 14. Clean and unclean food. You and your sons of the Lord your God, you shall not cut yourselves or make any baldness on your forehead for the dead. For you are a people holy to the Lord your God, and the Lord has chosen you to be a people for his treasured possession out of all the peoples who are on the face of the earth. 3. You shall not eat any abomination. These are the animals you may eat: the ox, the sheep, the goat, the deer, the gazelle, the roebuck, the wild goat, the ibex, the antelope, and the mountain sheep. Verse 6. Every animal that parts the hoof and has the hoof cloven in two and chews the cud, among the animals you may eat. 7. Yet of those that chew the cud or have the hoof cloven, you shall not eat these: the camel, the hare, the rock badger, because they chew the cud but do not part the hoof, are unclean for you. And the pig, because it parts the hoof and does not chew the cud, it's unclean for you. Their flesh you shall not eat, and their carcasses you shall not touch. Verse 9. Of all that are in the waters, you may eat these. Whatever has fins and scales, you may eat, and whatever does not have fins and scales, you shall not eat. It is unclean for you. 11. You may eat all clean birds, but these are the ones that you shall not eat: the eagle, the bearded vulture, the black vulture, the kite, the falcon of any kind, every raven of any kind, the ostrich, the nighthawk, the seagull, the hawk of any kind, the little owl, and the short eared owl, the barn owl, and the tawny owl, the carrion vulture, and the cormorant, cormorant, the stork, the heron of any kind, the hoopoe, and the bat. And all winged insects are unclean for you. These shall not be eaten. All clean winged insects, all clean winged things you may eat. 21. You shall not eat anything that has died naturally. You may give it to the sojourner who is within your town, that he may eat it, or you may sell it to a foreigner, for you are a people holy to the Lord your God. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Okay, so just like he told their forefathers in the wilderness what they were allowed to eat, he's telling them, he's warning them what to eat and what not to eat. 22, tithes. You shall tithe all your yield and your seed that comes from the yield year by year, and before the Lord your God in the place that he will choose to make in his name dwell there. You shall eat the tithe of your grain, of your wine, and of your oil, and the firstborn of your herd and flock, that you may learn to fear the Lord your God always. And if the way is too long for you, so that you are not able to carry the tithe, when the Lord your God blesses you, because the place is too far from you, which the Lord your God chooses to set his name there, then you shall turn it into money and bind up the money in your hand and go to the place that the Lord your God chooses and spend the money for whatever you desire, oxen or sheep or wine or strong drink, whatever your appetite craves. And you shall eat there before the Lord your God and rejoice, you and your household. 27. And you shall not neglect the Levite who is within your towns, for he has no portion or inheritance with you. 28. At the end of every 3 years, you shall bring out all the tithes of your produce in the same year and lay it up within your towns. And the Levites, because he has no portion or inheritance with you, and the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow who are within your towns, shall come and eat and be filled, that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands that you will do. Deep breath. All right. I'm not going to summarize until tomorrow. So we'll just keep plugging along. All right. Deuteronomy 15, the sabbatical year. The sabbatical year, the year of the Sabbath. Let me take a quick drink. Mm. Mika, how's the weather over there in Pittsburgh? What y'all doing over there?
It's actually pretty nice. I think it's like 70 degrees.
Yeah, I've neglected to tell the people where you're from. My girls in Pittsburgh, we're from Ohio, born and bred. But, I'm in Atlanta and Mika's in Pittsburgh, right?
Uh-huh. That's right.
All right. I got some little sinusy summer, not summer, but pre-spring thing trying to catch me, and I'm trying to run from it. All right. Deuteronomy 15. At the end of every 7 years, you shall grant a release, and this is the manner of the release. Every creditor shall release what he has lent to his neighbor. He shall not exact it of his neighbor, his brother, because the Lord's release has been proclaimed. Of a foreigner, you may exact it, but whatever of yours is with your brother, and your hand shall release. But there will be no poor among you, for the Lord will bless you in the land that the Lord your God is giving you for an inheritance to possess. Verse 5. If only you will strictly obey the voice of the Lord your God, being careful to do all this commandment that I command you today. For the Lord your God will bless you as he promised you, and you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow, and you shall rule over many nations, but they shall not rule over you. Verse 7. If among you one of your brothers should become poor in any of your towns within your land that the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not harden your heart or shut your hand against your poor brother, but you shall open your hand to him and lend him sufficient for his need, whatever it may be. Take care lest there be any unworthy thought in your heart, and you say, the seventh year, the year of release is near, and your eye look grudgingly on your poor brother, and you give him nothing. and he cried to the Lord against you, and you be guilty of sin. Verse 10, you shall give him freely, and your heart shall not be grudging when you give it to him, because for the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in all that you undertake. 11, for there will never cease to be a poor in the land. Therefore, I command you, you shall open wide your hand to your brother, to the need, and to the poor in your land. I love that. Give to the poor. All right, almost there. Verse 12, if your brother, a Hebrew man or Hebrew woman, is sold to you, he shall serve you 6 years, and in the seventh year you shall let him go free from you. And when you let him go free from you, you shall not let him go empty handed. You shall furnish him liberally out of your flock, out of your threshing floor, and out of your vine press. As the Lord your God has blessed you, you shall give to him. You shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you. Therefore, I command you this today. But if he says to you, I will not go out from you, because he's loved you or and your household, since he is well off with you, then you shall take an owl and put it through his ear into the door, and he shall be your slave forever, and your female slave you shall do the same. 18, it shall not seem hard to you when you let him go free from you, for at half the cost of a hired worker he has served you 6 years. So the Lord your God will bless you in all that you do. 19, all the firstborn males that are born of your herd and flock you shall dedicate to the Lord your God. You shall not do work with the firstborn of your herd, nor shear the firstborn of your flock. You shall eat it. You and your household before the Lord your God year by year at the place that the Lord will choose. But if it has any blemish, if it is lame or blind or has any serious blemish, whatever, you shall not sacrifice it to the Lord your God. You shall eat it within your towns. The unclean and the clean alike may eat it, as though it were a gazelle or a deer. Only you shall not eat its blood. You shall pour it out on the ground like water. Whew, that's a lot of reading. And again, I'll do a little summary for tomorrow. I'm not going to try to summarize as we go. All right, our last little bit of reading is Deuteronomy 16, and my beautiful friend Mika is going to take over. Thank you, Mika.
You're welcome. And I'm going to be reading out of the King James Version um, of the Bible.
No
And it
problem.
starts with chapter 16, verse 1.
Yes, Mika.
Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover to the Lord your God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord your God brought you out of Egypt by night. Therefore, you shall sacrifice the Passover to the Lord your God from the flock and from the herd in the place where the Lord chooses to put his name. You shall eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread with it. That is the bread of affliction. For you came out of the land of Egypt in haste, that you may remember the day in which you came out of the land of Egypt all the days of your life. Verse 4. And no leaven shall be seen among you in your territory for 7 days, nor shall any of the meat which you sacrifice for the first day at twilight remain overnight until morning. Verse 5. You may not sacrifice the Passover within any of your gates, which the Lord your God gives you. 6. But at the place where the Lord your God chooses to make his name abide, there you shall sacrifice the Passover at twilight, at the going down of the sun, at the time you came out of Egypt. Verse 7. And you shall roast and eat it in the place which the Lord your God chooses, and in the morning you shall go to your tents. Verse 8. 6 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the seventh day there shall be a sacred assembly to the Lord your God. You shall do no work on it. Verse 9. You shall count 7 weeks for yourself. Begin to count the 7 weeks from the time you begin to put the sickle to the grain. Verse 10. Then you shall keep the feast of weeks to the Lord your God with a tribute of free will offering from your hand, which you shall give as the Lord your God blesses you. Verse 11. You shall rejoice the Lord your God, you and your son and your daughter, your male servant and your female servant, the Levite who is within your gates, the stranger and the fatherless and the widow who are among you, at the place where the Lord your God chooses to make his name abide. Verse 12. And you shall remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and you shall be careful to observe these statutes. Verse 13. You shall observe the feast of tabernacles 7 days, when you have gathered from your threshing floor and from the winepress. Verse 14. And you shall rejoice in your feast, and your son and your daughter, your male servant and your female servant, and the Levite, the stranger and the fatherless, and the widow who are within your gates. Verse 15. 7 days you shall keep a sacred feast to the Lord your God in the place which the Lord chooses, because the Lord your God will bless you in all your produce and in all of the work of your hands, so that so that you surely rejoice.
Mhm.
Verse 16. 3 times a year all your males shall appear before the Lord your God in the place which he chooses, at the feast of unleavened bread, at the feast of weeks, and at the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty handed. Verse 17. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord your God, which he has given you.
Amen. Thank you,
Amen.
Mika. That was
You're
great.
welcome.
I love your powerful voice. I was so engaged the whole time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, my friends. Well, now it's time for our church announcements. And I have to say hello to Youngstown, Ohio, me and
Whoop,
Mika's
whoop.
homeland. I always like to put my little home church, born and raised in church there. What did you say the weather was, Mika?
I think it's like 70 degrees.
Ooh, y'all having a
Yeah, it's
nice
nice.
little spring day, pre-spring. I
Right.
just looked at the calendar and just realized spring is literally next week. So hopefully
Hmm.
that means winter is over for everybody across the country. No more snow. We're done. No more snow, no more frost, no more freeze.
Yeah.
All right, my friends. Well, today's scripture, it comes from Luke, verse 6 and 36, and it just simply says, be merciful, even as your father is merciful. And I know it does this show
Amen.
up backwards to you, Mika?
Hmm.
Yeah, so no need to show it. It's weird because when I'm live, it shows up backwards, but when I just record, it shows up regular because I watch
Yeah.
it and it anyway. All right, I got a couple Facebook shout outs. And Mika, you remember our high school buddy Brian T. I'm not gonna say his last
Yeah.
name. Yeah. His son Austin turned 13 today. So I'll let you say happy birthday
Oh,
to Austin too.
happy birthday,
Hey
Austin.
Brian. Him and his brother Joe. You remember those two.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousin Eric, hey Eric, his grandbaby and his oldest son have a birthday today. So happy
Oh,
birthday,
happy
grandbaby, and
birthday.
Eric's oldest son. Hey Eric, I hope everything's well there in Youngstown. All right, my
Yeah.
friends. Well, that's all I have. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, thank you to my very sweet, dear friend, Mika. Let me take a quick screenshot and hopefully it won't delete. Smile, Mika. Oh, it did it. All right, my live audience. Thank you for watching. Come back tomorrow.
Mhm.
I'll have another special guest tomorrow. I can't wait to introduce him to you. He's so dear and near to my heart. So I cannot wait. And Mika, I'll talk soon. And I'll see you in Vegas, God willing, in a month. That's
Okay.
my Vegas girl right there. We're going to an R&B festival in Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
I know Vegas is Sin City, but we be behaving in Vegas, right, Mika? We be behaving. We don't be doing the most. So you gotta be the light in the dark place. It's called Sin City, but that don't mean you gotta sin when you get there.
no.
All right. Well, be blessed and have a great day, everyone. Mika, I'll
All right.
reach out in a little bit. All right.
Okay. All right.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.